There's a reason you feel this way, a quiet hollowness that echoes in the compliments you give but never receive, in the space you make for others that remains empty when you need it most. And tonight, we're going to expose it, not with blame or shame, but with a gentle, unflinching light on the very architecture of your kindness. This is the problem with niceness, what we might call the harmlessness paradox. The invisible wound that convinces you that being good means being unseen, that being kind means erasing your own desires. And this isn't about being a bad person. Far from it. It's about a psychological trap woven from the best of intentions, a cage built from the need to be perceived as safe, as agreeable, as never ever causing a ripple. And it's this very cage that is suffocating your spirit. You've felt this before, haven't you? That subtle resentment simmering beneath a smiling yes, the exhaustion. That comes from performing a version of yourself that requires no maintenance, no messy needs. Let's go deeper. This pattern didn't appear out of nowhere. It was a survival strategy, crafted brilliantly by a younger you, in a world that felt too loud, too demanding, or perhaps too dangerous to be your full, vibrant self. What no one tells you is that niceness is often not kindness. Kindness is robust. It has a spine. It can say no. It involves truth. Whereas niceness is a performance of harmlessness designed to ward off conflict, to secure belonging, and in doing so, it sacrifices your authenticity on the altar of social convenience. Pause. Notice what that just revealed in the tightness of your chest, the slight drop in your stomach. Ask yourself this now. When did you first learn that your true self was too much or not enough? This is the genesis of the paradox. To be loved, I must be inoffensive. To be safe, I must be harmless. But in making yourself harmless, you make yourself invisible, even to yourself. And that is a special kind of psychological death by 1,000 tiny concessions. But here's the truth. Your mind, in its infinite wisdom, created this pattern to protect you, to navigate the complex emotional landscapes of your childhood, perhaps where a parent's love felt conditional, or where conflict led to terrifying silence, or where you simply learned that the quickest way to get a cookie was to be the quietest, most compliant child in the room. Your nervous system learned to associate being nice with being safe, and being authentic with potential danger, a threat of abandonment so profound that the soul would rather wither than risk it. And so a core belief was born. My needs are a burden. My boundaries are rude. My truth is disruptive. And from this core belief sprouted 1,000 behaviors, all designed to maintain this facade of pleasantness. This shield of agreeability that over time becomes a prison of your own making. You're starting to see it now, the blueprint of your own cage. Let me tell you about Alex, a man who lived his life as a supporting character in everyone else's story. Alex's phone was a constant stream of requests, from colleagues needing him to cover a shift, from friends needing a last-minute ride, from family needing an ear to vent into. And his answer was always a warm, of course, no problem. Even when it was a massive problem, even when it meant canceling his own plans, his own quiet Friday night with a book that he'd been looking forward to all week. He was the nice guy, the reliable one, and he wore this title like a crown of thorns, feeling it dig deeper with every yes that should have been a no. Inside, Alex was a cavern of resentment and loneliness. He'd lie awake at night, his mind racing with a silent, furious monologue about how no one ever considered him, how he was always the one making the effort. And this bitterness was his secret shame, because a truly nice person wouldn't feel this way, right? So he'd redouble his efforts, becoming even more accommodating, even more self-effacing, feeding the very cycle that was devouring him from the inside out. His story is so familiar because it's a universal trap. The harmlessness paradox convinces you that the resentment you feel is a personal failing, a proof that you're not nice enough yet, rather than what it truly is, a brilliant, screaming alarm from your soul that you are off your path, that you are betraying yourself. You feel it making sense already. The the pieces of your own experience beginning to click into place. This brings us to the hidden emotional triggers, the landmines buried in your daily life that reinforce this entire system. And the first is the fear of abandonment, the primal terror that if you are truly seen, with all your flaws and needs and opinions, you will be left alone. And for the human psyche, which is wired for connection, this threat feels existential. The second is the fear of being selfish, a label that for the nice person is a cardinal sin, a moral failure so terrifying that you'd rather endure the slow drain of self-betrayal than risk wearing that label for even a moment. And the third, perhaps the most insidious, is the identity attachment to being a good person. Your entire sense of moral worth is tied to this persona of niceness. So any act of self-assertion feels like a corruption of your very soul, a fall from grace. Pause. Breathe into that space. Where in your life does the word selfish echo like a judge's gavel? Ask yourself this now. What would you do if you knew with absolute certainty that you would not be abandoned? The answer to that question holds the key to your freedom. But here's the truth. These fears are ghosts, memories of old wounds that your nervous system mistakes for present-day reality. And we are going to gently, firmly teach your system a new way of being, starting with your first real weapon against this paradox, the weapon of conscious awareness. This is not about fighting yourself, but about becoming a compassionate observer of your own patterns. And it begins with step 1, recognize the trigger. This is the moment you feel that familiar pull, the internal pressure to say yes when you mean no, to swallow your opinion, to make yourself smaller, to make someone else more comfortable. It has a physical signature, a clenching in your jaw, a sinking in your gut, a tightening in your chest. Your body knows the truth long before your mind admits it. Step 2, reframe the story. The old story is, if I say no, they'll be upset, and that means I'm a bad person. The new, reframed story is, setting a positive boundary is an act of respect for myself and for the other person. It creates clarity and trust. Their emotional response is their responsibility, not mine to manage. And step 3, replace the pattern. Instead of the automatic, breathless yes, you introduce a pause, a breath, and a simple, graceful phrase. Let me check my calendar and get back to you. Or, I can't commit to that right now, but I appreciate you asking me. This isn't about being confrontational. It's about moving from an automatic reaction to a conscious response. You're starting to see it now, how the smallest shift in awareness can begin to crack the foundation of the entire structure. Let's go deeper into the second weapon, the one that feels the most dangerous, but is in fact the most liberating, the weapon of righteous anger. For the nice person, anger is the ultimate sin, a destructive, terrifying force to be suppressed at all costs. But what if I told you that your anger is not your enemy? What if it is your most loyal protector, a sacred signal that a boundary has been crossed, a value has been violated, a need has been ignored? Your suppressed anger is the source of that simmering resentment. It doesn't disappear, it metastasizes, turning inward as depression, anxiety, and self-loathing, or leaking outward as passive aggression and sarcasm. To end the problem with niceness psychology fix, you must make peace with this misunderstood emotion. Step 1, recognize the trigger. Anger for you will rarely feel like a roaring fire. It will feel like a hot flash of irritation, a sudden desire to withdraw, a critical thought about someone that you quickly dismiss, a feeling of being trapped or pressured. Step 2, reframe the story. The old story is, anger is bad and dangerous. I must calm down and be understanding. The new story is, this anger is a messenger. It is here to tell me something important about my needs or my boundaries. I can listen to its message without being controlled by its heat. Step 3, replace the pattern. Instead of swallowing the feeling or letting it explode, you learn to channel it. You give it a voice, but a conscious one. You might say, when X happened, I felt frustrated because it felt like my time wasn't being respected. I need Y to happen going forward. This transforms destructive rage into constructive assertion. Pause. Feel the resistance to that idea. The fear that giving voice to your anger will burn all your bridges. Ask yourself this now. What is one small boundary that, if set, would make you feel a profound sense of self-respect? The answer is your next step. This brings us to our third weapon, the weapon of embodied presence. Because this pattern doesn't just live in your mind, it lives in your body, in the slouched shoulders that make you smaller, the soft voice that doesn't command attention, the placating smile that masks your true feelings. Your body has been trained into harmlessness, and it is through your body that you will reclaim your power. Step 1. Recognize the trigger. Notice the physical collapse that happens when you're about to people please. The dropped gaze, the softened voice, the leaning back. Your body is literally making itself less present, less substantial. Step 2. Reframe the story. The old story is, I need to make myself small to be safe. The new story is, I am safe when I am grounded in my own body, occupying my full space with confidence. Step 3. Replace the pattern. Practice power postures, even in private. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart, your shoulders back, your chest open. Breathe deeply into your belly. Speak from your diaphragm, not your throat. This is not about becoming domineering. It's about ceasing to be invisible to your own physical self. You feel it making sense already. The connection between how you hold your body and how you feel about your right to take up space. Let me tell you about Sarah, who realized her niceness was a form of control. She prided herself on never asking for anything, on being the low-maintenance friend, the easygoing partner. She thought this made her virtuous. But in therapy, she had a stunning realization. Her refusal to state her needs was a way to control how others perceived her, as strong, independent, unbothered. It was also a setup for a devastating payoff. When people inevitably failed to read her mind and meet her unstated needs, she got to feel righteously wounded, confirming her deep-seated belief that she was ultimately alone. Her transformation began not with a loud declaration, but with a quiet, terrifying sentence spoken to her partner. I felt lonely when you spent the whole party talking to your colleagues. I would have liked to have spent a bit more time together. It felt excruciatingly vulnerable, like she was handing him a weapon. But his response wasn't defensiveness, it was appreciation. Thank you for telling me, he said. I had no idea. Let's make sure we do that next time. In that moment, Sarah's entire paradigm shifted. Her vulnerability, not her stoic niceness, became the gateway to real connection. Let's go deeper still, into the fourth and final weapon, the weapon of sovereign desire. The nice person has become so adept at tuning into others' desires that they have become deaf to their own. Your own wants feel like a faint, distant radio signal, constantly being overpowered by the loud, clear stations of everyone else. To reclaim your life, you must get curious about what you genuinely want, not what you should want, not what would make you look good, but what truly brings you joy, what makes you feel alive. This is the ultimate act of rebellion against the harmlessness paradox. Step 1. Recognize the trigger. The trigger is any moment of choice, from what to eat for dinner to what career to pursue, where your immediate internal response is, I don't know, what do you want? This is the voice of self-abdication. Step 2. Reframe the story. The old story is, my desires are unimportant or a burden to others. The new story is, my desires are the unique expression of my soul. Honoring them is how I live a meaningful life. Step 3. Replace the pattern. Start small, agonizingly small if you have to. Choose the movie. Pick the restaurant. Decide on the walk without asking for input. Keep a desire journal where you write down, with no judgment, anything that sparks your interest, from a type of coffee to a dream vacation. This is not about being selfish. It's about coming back online to your own existence. Pause. Feel the anxiety that arises at the mere thought of choosing for yourself. Ask yourself this now. What is one tiny, almost imperceptible desire you had today that you ignored? Honor it tomorrow. What no one tells you is that this entire journey is a process of reparenting yourself of becoming the loving, firm parent you needed, who would have looked you in the eye and said, "Your needs matter. Your voice is important. You are allowed to take up space." This is the integration, the moment where the weapons cease to be tools you use and become instead a natural extension of who you are. It's not about becoming a different person, but about unbecoming the person you thought you had to be, shedding the armor of niceness to reveal the authentic, kind, but fiercely real person underneath. You are not here to be harmless. You are here to be alive, to be full spectrum, to feel and express the entire range of human emotion without guilt or apology. This is how you end the problem with niceness pattern tonight, not through force, but through a profound and gentle shift in allegiance. From seeking external validation to embodying internal sovereignty. Let me leave you with one final story about Michael, a lifelong people pleaser who hit his breaking point at his own birthday party. He stood in a room full of people who loved him, feeling utterly alone, because the party, the music, the guests, it was all what he thought they would want. He had orchestrated an event for a version of himself that didn't exist. That night, he made a silent vow to himself. For 1 year, he would practice making one authentic choice per day, no matter how small. It started with telling a friend he didn't like the movie they'd just seen. It progressed to leaving a job that looked impressive but made him miserable. It culminated in him, a year later, playing the music he loved, and for the first time, feeling truly, deeply celebrated. Not for his niceness, but for his presence. His story is a testament to the fact that the path out of the paradox is paved not with grand gestures, but with 1,000 tiny, courageous acts of self-honesty. You feel it making sense already, the path unfolding within you. This is your work, your quiet rebellion. It will feel clumsy at first, like learning a new language. You will feel like an imposter, a bad person. That's the old programming screaming as it loses power. Stay the course. Let's go deeper into the silence that follows the yes you didn't mean, into the space where your true voice waits, not to be loud, but to be clear. It's not about becoming aggressive. It's about ceasing to be a passive participant in your own life. You were never meant to be a ghost in the machine of other people's expectations. You were meant to be the author of your own story, with all its compelling conflicts and glorious resolutions. The harmlessness paradox psychology fix is not a one-time event, but a daily practice of choosing yourself, of listening to that inner whisper that knows your truth, of understanding that real connection is only possible when you stop performing and start being. So tonight, as you sit with this, know that the cage door was never locked. It was only ever held shut by the fear of what might happen if you stepped out. But I am here to tell you that on the other side of that fear is not abandonment, but a profound and lasting homecoming to yourself. You are starting to see it now, the outline of your own freedom, not as a distant dream, but as your next breath, your next choice, the next courageous moment where you decide that being whole is infinitely more valuable than being nice.